It was supposed to be the showcase of a country's renewal, the symbol of its creative power and human ingenuity. But maybe the project was too big. Like a slap in the face, the city of the future, the line, has ultimately been drastically reduced. Initially planned to stretch 170 kilometers in length, it's been cut down to just 2.4 kilometers. A major setback for its sponsor, Saudi Arabia. But while the shock is significant, it does not mark the end of the country's ambitions, as the Saudi kingdom continues to develop its broader futuristic regional project, NEOM. So, does Saudi Arabia's project still make sense? Tourism, energy, industry. What are the strengths of this region that's still under construction? And what are its weaknesses? Can such a controversial project remain Saudi Arabia's showcase and reach completion? That's what we're going to explore together in this new episode of Looking For. It's a long-running saga that all architecture enthusiasts have followed with passion since its announcement. A utopia with traces back to 2017, when Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman unveiled an unprecedented plan: the construction of a linear city 500 meters tall, 200 meters wide, stretching across 170 kilometers. At the time of its announcement, the line was expected to be completed by 2030 and eventually house 9 million inhabitants, all for an estimated cost of just $500 billion. With the first visuals, criticism then shifted to the architecture itself, with its proposals of gigantic mirrored walls stretching the length of 8 Manhattans. To top it all off, this would be built across Saudi Arabia's arid desert. As we all remember, some were already convinced from the start that this project would never see the light of day. It now seems that in 2026, the skeptics have the upper hand. Construction has indeed begun, but as the Financial Times explained as recently as November 2025, parts of the 170 kilometers of the line are only marked by piles and deep trenches. The site has reportedly already cost nearly $50 billion. Despite this significant investment, not a single kilometer of the actual line has been erected to date. The $50 billion has so far been spent merely on site preparation. According to the Financial Times, the project has been undone by the laws of physics and finance. It must be said that even in terms of financing alone, the bill was becoming absolutely unsustainable, even for a petro-monarchy as wealthy as Saudi Arabia. Before the project was scaled back, the total cost was expected to reach $1.5 trillion, already more than 3 times the initial price, if not far more according to some estimates. A budget unmanageable even for the Public Investment Fund, or PIF, the ultra-wealthy sovereign fund that was supposed to provide most of the financing for NEOM. For reference, the PIF only amounts to $926 billion. The rest of the budget was supposed to come from local and foreign investors, but they never truly showed up. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia is pursuing other projects. Subsequent reports from Reuters, The Wall Street Journal, and others describe an internal audit projecting that the broader NEOM vision could actually cost nearly $9 trillion through 2080. A long-term cost that many believe exceeds what even a very wealthy state would rationally undertake. On top of all of that, the line has increasingly run into the harsh realities of material costs and the logistics of such a project. Unlike other mega projects comparable in budget and scale, the return on investment for the line has never been entirely clear. The project has increasingly resembled something that would consume capital for decades before generating real returns. Architecturally, the line has also raised questions about feasibility and multiplied issues related to the laws of physics. Journalist and architect Alison Killing cites the example of a proposed chandelier-shaped building suspended above a hidden marina, whose designers warned it could swing like a pendulum and cause serious problems. More broadly, the idea of an inhabited wall 500 meters high and 170 kilometers long pushes physical limits to an unprecedented level. That would need to be sourced at a time when the world is experiencing a shortage of construction sand. Desert sand cannot simply be used. It's too smooth and unsuitable for concrete. Currently, only 5% of the Earth's sand is usable for construction. For a city of this scale, astronomical quantities would need to be imported, and it's virtually impossible to obtain such quantities at this time. From the outset, the project was unfeasible on this scale. Most of the world seems to be unaware of this, even people who have been following the story for years. It's just one more example of how hard it can be in today's information ecosystem to uncover the true story. Something we always work tirelessly to do at Looking For. And that's why we're proud to be partnering on today's video with Ground News. Ground News is a website and mobile app that compiles thousands of news articles every day and provides key, data-driven insights into the bigger picture those different sources are portraying from different angles. Not only can you see all the sources covering a story, but their factuality score shows how credible those sources are, while their bias distribution score reveals where on the political spectrum the story is getting more or less coverage. Even more striking, you can compare headlines side by side, revealing how the same story can be framed differently, depending on which source is reporting it. Take, for example, this story about Italy and Israel. Using Ground News tools, you can see that the story was covered by more than 100 sources with a high overall factuality rating. You can also see that it received slightly more coverage on the left, but even though it was widely covered by reputable sources, it was only covered by one publication in the United States. Comparing headlines also uncovers subtle differences in framing. For example, the right-leaning Press TV uses the term military and mentions cracks growing in the relationship, while left-leaning publications like Huffington Post and the New Arab use terms like cooperation and suspension to describe the same event. This is the type of insight you won't get elsewhere. I personally use it and find it incredibly useful, and you will too if you're serious about seeing the full picture. Right now, you can subscribe to Ground News and get 40% off their unlimited access Vantage plan by scanning the QR code on screen or by using the unique link ground.news/lookingfor. You'll find that link in the description. Thank you to Ground News for sponsoring this video. And now, back to Saudi Arabia. While some see the downfall of the line as a step backward, it should not be forgotten that the linear city was only one part of a much larger project, NEOM. A region the size of Belgium, envisioned as futuristic with major hubs of innovation. A desire to reform and rapidly propel Saudi Arabia into the 21st century. This vision of a forward-looking Saudi Arabia is embodied by one man, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Nicknamed MBS, he is indeed the main architect of NEOM, which he considers essential to his doctrine known as Vision 2030, a program aimed at modernizing the country and finding a more suitable economic model to anticipate the end of oil-based revenue. Projects continue to move forward. For example, a major announcement quietly emerged amid recent reports. In February 2025, NEOM signed a $5 billion partnership with DataVault, a Saudi data center operator. This agreement aims to build a zero-carbon AI factory in Oxagon, the floating port and industrial city of NEOM on the Red Sea. The first phase is expected to be completed in 2028, with a capacity of 300 megawatts. Once fully completed, however, the facility will reach 1.5 gigawatts, roughly equivalent to the data centers of Phoenix, Arizona, in 2024, one of the largest markets in the United States. At the same time, construction of NEOM's port and green hydrogen project continues, the latter already 80% complete and on track for production next year. Saudi officials have also continued to describe NEOM as a generational investment, and the project increasingly appears to be taking shape as a set of practical assets. Like the line, NEOM is not dead, it may simply be reshaping itself. The line is undoubtedly the most viral megaproject of the 21st century. Millions of people have watched videos explaining its concept and marveled at its 3D renders and models, including on this channel. And part of the fascination was also seeing such a project emerge from a country perceived as rigid as Saudi Arabia. Indeed, few countries have such a complex international reputation. Before 2021, much of the outside world mainly associated the kingdom with three things: oil, religious conservatism, and authoritarian repression. In this context, the announcement of the line took the entire world by surprise. It seemed to come from a new Saudi Arabia, a futuristic, visionary Saudi Arabia, open to business with the modern world. This new image formed the basis of the soft power that MBS sought to project. The line and NEOM were therefore meant, with the Vision 2030 strategy, to improve Saudi Arabia's image in the eyes of the outside world. We may never know whether MBS fully intended to build the line. However, it's easy to imagine that one of his main objectives with this project was to create a striking flagship for the broader transformation of his country. A kingdom transformed into a global economic hub at the heart of the Arab and Islamic world. It remains to be seen in the coming years whether the line, refocused within NEOM, has truly failed in this mission. A soft power strategy that's paired with massive investment in sports, Formula One, esports, and especially football. This is illustrated by the rise of a national football league driven by clubs that have recruited global stars such as Cristiano Ronaldo and Karim Benzema, at enormous cost. Another notable signing is French international striker Alexandre Lacazette, who plays for NEOM Sports Club, the football team of this futuristic region. A club that currently plays at King Khalid Sports City Stadium in Tabuk, while awaiting the construction of NEOM Stadium. This stadium is set to be integrated into the shortened section of the line. As a result, the pitch will sit around 350 meters above ground. The structure will be able to host more than 46,000 spectators, and a kind of countdown has begun for this venue, as it's among those selected to host matches during the 2034 FIFA World Cup, which will take place in the country. In fact, sport fits almost perfectly within the logic and the three pillars of Vision 2030. When considering terms like investment power and hub connecting three continents, it becomes clear why a futuristic sports complex would be more than just infrastructure. It would be an image-building tool, something to broadcast, photograph, and associate with a new version of Saudi Arabia. However, regarding ambitious sports projects in the kingdom, not all the news is promising. In March 2026, it was announced that several companies were cancelling their contracts with NEOM, including Eversendai and the giant WeBuild, which had been jointly working on constructing a ski resort called Trojena. This site had previously been expected to host the 2029 Winter Olympics. The cancellations were announced in February. As a result, Trojena will no longer host the Games, which have been relocated to Almaty, Kazakhstan. All of this raises a broader question. What will the newly revised NEOM actually look like? Or at least, what possibilities remain on the table? The most striking example is Sindala, the island dedicated to luxury tourism, which is indeed opened but remains relatively undervisited for now. And the promised investments to bring other luxury tourism projects in NEOM to life have still not materialized. That said, if NEOM reaches completion, the region will likely fulfill several key functions that will make it not only an intriguing destination, but also a major hub for trade, digital infrastructure, and tourism. It's also worth noting that international geopolitics, particularly tensions in the Strait of Hormuz, could influence the project's progress. For the new NEOM, one of these roles clearly appears to be AI infrastructure. By building a campus of zero-carbon AI factories in Oxagon, DataVault could position Saudi Arabia as a potential model for sustainable AI in the 21st century. And as mentioned earlier, this campus is set to complete its first phase as early as 2028. Of course, another role is as a destination for sports and events, and this should not be underestimated in terms of its potential to attract investment and surrounding development, especially if NEOM becomes home to a professional team. Another role is green industrial energy, thanks to the aforementioned green hydrogen project, currently 80% complete. And yet another role is as a logistics and trade hub. Thanks to NEOM's ever-expanding port, which already handles freight and will soon see a new terminal become operational with a capacity of up to 1.5 million TEUs starting in 2026. With all this information, it's hard to say that the NEOM project is dead. It continues to exist, but in different forms. Its flagship, The Line, has lost some of its shine, certainly, but many other projects are still under development. It remains to be seen what they will become and whether they will truly allow Saudi Arabia to shine on the international stage. If there's one ambitious project currently progressing well in the kingdom, it's the construction of a 1-kilometer tower set to rise in Jeddah by summer 2028. I'll leave you with my recent video about it right here. See you shortly on Looking For.